Hey, so I wanted to talk a little bit about actually a pretty common thing I feel like that people end up talking to each other about, but they don't necessarily talk to a lactation counselor. And that's toddlers and breast milk. And so here's kind of the reason why I feel like most people don't talk to a lactation counselor. Society. So society kind of dictates a lot depending on the country that you live in. Here in the United States, breastfeeding is actually stopped. Right now, it's pushed to 1 year, which is awesome. But it actually didn't start that way. This is something that's more recent than what people might think. Actually, it started back in the 70s. So the 70s, we actually tried to implement more to like 3 months old. And then we got to like 6 months old. And that was kind of more the 90s. And then once we got to like this new millennial, we've been trying to push to 1 year. There is nothing that magically stops being beneficial for your child in breast milk like the day they turn a year old. Nothing stops. It stays being beneficial. In fact, when you still have that exchange of the baby's saliva with the milk receptor cells that are in your breast, you still are giving those antibodies specific to what your baby or toddler is needing. And then if you do pump at that point because you don't want them on the breast, that's totally fine. You're still giving them your antibodies and your benefits, your vitamins, minerals, everything that you're giving them. It doesn't stop being beneficial. That's why they have the toddler formulas or like a Pediasure, because we have this mindset that we still have to give our toddlers something, but we might not necessarily give them breast milk. But why? It's still super beneficial, and it's actually still better than half the stuff we're giving them anyway. Way better than juice. Some people give pop or soda, I guess, depending on where you're at, soda pop. It's still beneficial than that. The only other thing that's going to be great is water, but this even has water in it. Breast milk is actually 80% water. So you are hydrating your child, and that is actually why you're not supposed to give babies water on top of breast milk. I actually worked in a church nursery where we ran out of formula, and instead of contacting the mom, they were just going to fill the baby's bottle up with water and give it to them. If you do run a child daycare center or nursery, I highly recommend telling your families to make sure there's enough breast milk or formula, but make sure your workers know not to give babies straight water. It can be very detrimental to their health. So let's get back to toddlers. So in other aspects of the world, like there are certain Middle Eastern and African countries that this society dictates how long you breastfeed, kind of like it does here, but it's positive. Mostly positive. It depends on the parent. So there are some countries where you breastfeed till 3. That is how it's always been done. That's what we do. We breastfeed until they're 3. And so if something does come up medically where the mom needs to stop for some sort of medical reason, let's say they're not even living in that country, there are some people that are still in that mindset because of their culture that they feel like, I can't stop. I can't take care of myself yet. I did not breastfeed until my child was 3. I have to wait until they're 3. And that can be that's a whole other topic about cultural expectations and breastfeeding. But that's something that can be really, really difficult for the mom. And that's something that instead of just going to a friend, especially a friend that maybe has a different cultural background, talking to a lactation counselor or an IBCLC. So the difference between a CLC and an IBCLC, that's another question I get a lot. IBCLCs are internationally board certified. CLCs are nationally board. So I don't have the international board. That's why I always talk about doing stuff here in the United States. I would love to go get my IBCLC, if anything, because looking at the differences of around the world cultures is fascinating to me. So for instance, the toddlers, like I said, it's like 3 years old, it's 5 years old. It depends on that culture a lot of the time. So when we talk about toddlers and breast milk in the United States, the majority of people, once they get to 1 year old, either stop or they start to stop and they start weaning. And I was in that same camp too. My daughter and now my youngest have both been weaned by around 18 months old. And it's a little bit under 18 months for my son because I knew I was going to be leaving for quite a while. So I had to leave him. I needed to though. And at that point, it's not up to anybody except mom and baby. Like if toddler's ready, and let me tell you, I came back from my trip and I was like, I really want to nurse you again. But now I've done it and I know if I backtrack, I'm going to confuse him and I don't want to do that. But there is that special bond. And if anything, that can be really difficult too, is that bond with your baby. And you don't want to give that up. I finally found ways that I can get my baby to cuddle with me now that doesn't have to just be with my breast out. But I miss that bond, that cuddling aspect. So finding a way that he will eventually get the bottle and then still cuddle with me still gives me that like peace bonding time with him. So when it does come to actually at the breast, I know people talk about like latch. Once you do get to like a toddler age, I'm going to argue once they get probably 7-8 months old, maybe 10 months, depends on the baby. Once they know what they're doing, they know what they're doing. And once you get to that point where like they can do other things while they're breastfeeding, there's no correction of latch really. Like if you know baby gymnastics, they can be latched onto you with a foot in the air and a foot out the side and looking out the window and twiddling your other nipple at the same time. And they're doing great. Side note, most of the time that they are twiddling that side, they have learned your letdown reflex. And so if they are touching something on the other breast, they have learned that if they do that, it's an on switch and it's releasing that oxytocin in your body to release that letdown to get them more milk. They're turning on your faucet. That's what they're doing. It's so incredibly annoying, but they know how it works and they want a faster flow. They're going to get a faster flow. So that is actually a really fun thing the toddlers do with that too. When it does come to different meals. So here's the other question I get a lot, and that's breast milk, regular food. So those are complementary foods is what they're called. It's not called supplementing. That's when you're giving a different type of milk to a milk-only diet. When it comes to complementary foods, that's when you're giving your breast milk or formula and crackers and those amazing Gerber puffs, because we know that they are all so yummy. Those sweet potato ones, I can eat a whole container. So those are complementary foods. So we start doing that. Some people do the baby-led weaning. Still fabulous. When you start food, you are still wanting to do breast milk first. Breast milk first, always before offering food, because that is still their primary nutrition for at least the first year. Once the first year happens, then that's when you can start incorporating more food groups because they're less likely to have a reaction. And this is usually guided through your pediatrician. This is something that like honey. Honey is not supposed to be given to any infant under 1. And it's actually because of botulism. There's a high risk for them to get botulism from honey. Fun fact, peanut butter, when I had my first son, peanut butter was a no-no. Now they found that giving them a teaspoon worth starting at 6 months old once a week decreases the risk of having a horrible peanut allergy. So that's what our pediatrician had us do for our last 2, which is totally backwards from my first. Things are always changing, which is why anytime you hear me say something, I'm always going to say, check with your pediatrician, because they're going to know the latest research for that. That's not my specialty, but that's something that I do know from my kids, but always check with your doctor. So we're going to start bringing in breast milk. We're going to start bringing in maybe peanut butter. Maybe you're going to start doing purees. Cool. Trick one at a time. Again, checking for allergies. And then you're going to slowly start incorporating. Usually another good thing is oatmeal. Literally up until my kids were toddlers, I would give them oatmeal, and instead of mixing it with water, mixed it with breast milk. My oldest didn't know this, but if he was sick, I threw some breast milk in his oat milk or in his smoothie because I know if he's sick and I'm sick, we're all sick, we were all exposed to the same thing. Might as well give you the extra antibodies too, because we all need to kick this. And that's another thing you can do too. I like making toddler smoothies. So you can do banana, breast milk, baby oats. I try to stay away from the rice. In fact, when the whole rice thing came out with all of those issues with arsenic with the baby rice cereals, my doctor even said, we're not doing the rice either. We're not recommending any rice products. So honestly, we just did frozen fruits, threw them in, really fun smoothie. The kids loved it, except my littlest. My littlest hates anything cold. So I had to come up with something new because I also did breast milk popsicles. They are perfect for toddlers that are teething. It is something that they're still getting those nutrients and they're able to soothe their gums. But for my little one who doesn't like to have anything cold, that was not a hit, which really threw me for a loop. I did it with the other two, and my last was like, yeah, not having this. So I had to find something else. So that's kind of where I got the, all right, we're going to have to do extra oatmeal stuff, or maybe we can mix it in something else, like a chocolate milk type of breast milk thing for you. Something fun, anything you would normally do for toddlers, and then throw it in. If you make baby food, what I do for the toddlers is I still technically make baby food, but I put it in the pouches, and I have reusable pouches so that we're not buying all of this plastic constantly. Also, it's way cheaper to just grab some groceries, and then, especially right now with inflation, oh my gosh, grab a big thing from Costco of berries, grab a big thing of melon, sweet potato, banana, whatever you're getting, throw breast milk in it, throw it in a Ninja blender, whatever blender you've got, and then I fill up the reusable packs. Really, I love it. They're dishwasher safe. They're freezer safe. They're technically, I think it just says don't microwave, but I don't know why we would microwave them anyway. The kids love it. It is hands down great. They also get those benefits of the breast milk plus all of the other wonderful vitamins that are in all the other produce we just gave them. And it's got really, really good calories for them. It's all healthy calories. So that's another great way to still get breast milk into your toddlers while you're getting these complementary foods. Always, I try to put the breast milk in a sippy cup. My littlest one, again, is ruining my plans with everything. But I'll try to put them in a sippy cup with something that they're getting at the dinner table. Now, a friend of mine is a registered dietitian, and she has told me a couple of times, highly recommends that a first food is meat for babies because you get so much iron and so much protein right away, which are the two really big things that they need in their diet because of, well, that's why they have iron fortified cereals for babies. That's usually when those iron storage start depleting for babies that were stored in their bodies from breastfeeding and from utero. And that's when that iron starts kind of going down. So that's why, and they don't really get iron from breast milk, which is why they want iron fortified foods. So this is something that, like, maybe you don't need an iron fortified cereal. Give them something that naturally has great iron. Baby meat. Cool. You don't have meat. Let's do beans. Perfect. So stuff like that is going to be your best first step, health-wise, to get them into these complementary foods. So once they do start doing actual more foods and they can do more like mealtime things. Now I do have a 3-year-old who's a picky eater. So we do still do like section plates and at least something from a food group on each. We really try at least. We do the best we can. And then for my 1.5-year-old, we still try to do that if possible. Oh my goodness, we're trying. He's getting so picky. And then, yep, throw that milk on there. If you've got the breast milk still frozen, cool. See if then maybe we'll do it in a smoothie. See if they'll do the popsicle. It's summertime. Oh my gosh, every kid loves popsicles. Honestly, I know people that have tried to make ice cream from it, like with an ice cream maker. That's going to take a lot of breast milk. So if you have an oversupply, cool, go for it. If you don't have an oversupply, it's fine. Like, just freeze it. They're still going to love it. I don't know what's happening. But that's pretty much the end of it anyway. So like once we actually do get to that, like once you get to that point of needing to do complementary feedings, that's honestly an amazing way to do that. So if you ever have questions or need great ideas or recipes, I'm actually thinking about doing a newsletter kind of email thing and starting like an email list. And I really kind of want to throw some recipes out there, but like dinner recipes. But if toddler recipes is going to be like a great thing that people would love, cool, let's feed them babies. And I'll throw that on too. And if that is something that's super interesting to you, please let me know, because I keep going back and forth about it, but it kind of sounds fun. I feel like throwing a tip once a month, because I hate getting bombarded with emails. But like maybe once a month and you get an email and it's got like breastfeeding tip or fun thing that's in this area, recipe for babies, recipe for the family, like mom self-care stuff, like little sections and super easy read. Let me know if that'd be interesting, because I'm feeling like it would be fun. So let me know. I'm curious. You can shoot me a PM or even throw a comment on this video. And then until next time, if you have questions, please hit me up. Thanks.